I'm waiting to see. I kind of wanted to change my earrings. Oh well, it's fine. 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 I'm live. Hi. So today is an Ojlc Oracle Juice live and cake. I ate most of the cake before I went live, so I could actually do what I'm here to do, which is I think today I want to look at pathways of power. hmm I know every crumb, every last time I did an OJL, I had cake. It was like a happy birthday thing. Also, today is a very special Virgo's birthday. Happy birthday, very special Virgo. Today is your birthday. And I hope it's happy, happy, happy. So, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna use the SKT Vitruvian. So, it kind of came out, this energy came out in a way before. It was the top of the year. After I got the story engine cards, also like Rob was wearing contacts today, so I put in contacts today. I got I think a memory or something, and I was wearing them, and I was like, oh, I should put those in again. Today has been so weird, but like in the best way. I didn't get much sleep last night, and it's more questionable life choices than it is like the coming eclipse or whatever. Also, today, instead of this being on the right and the little table being on the left, this is on the left and the little table is on the right, which is why the angle is different. And so I keep looking like where I usually have the camera, which is towards the right, but it's on the left. Anyway, if you see me looking right there, that's what I'm looking at. The absence of the camera. So anyway, um, I don't know. I had was feeling like really tired when I woke up. I had a question of whether or not I was going to take a walk, and I did. And I don't know. It's just like maybe it's the weather. The heat has broken. Autumn is coming. I am thriving in the high 60s. I love it. Especially in the shade with the cool breeze. It was just like the perfect amount of cool. I don't know. And it was a complete vibe. And I was thinking, what did I think? I had a thought. Yeah, I remembered that at the top of the year, there was the whole thing that I tried to draw out on the notes app. I might still have it. Let's see. Most of these I don't delete. I probably should because there are billions of notes that will never be referenced ever again. Now, obviously, billions is a little bit of hyperbole, but nope, it looks like it's gone. No, it looks like it's gone. It was a thing where it was um like with the different levels of energy or whatever. Like there was the stuff down here, and then there were the planets, and then it was like if you look above the planets, then you tap more into the concept rather than the construct. Now, concepts versus constructs really emerged, or the language for it emerged last time. The energy of it, the vibe of it, has been around for a hot minute. And it's like the planets, theoretically, thematically, for whatever is being read, it's like the inner surface of a two-way mirror, and that's the concept, right? So we look, and because we're looking at a mirror, we can see behind us. We can see a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily see. Well, this is my vision. This is like, I feel like this is most people's, but like we get a fuller picture when we look at the mirror. But the concept behind the construct, or the concept beyond the construct, is like looking through the glass to see all that goes on the other side. Now, I was already going to look for the Hermit. Excuse me. Also, I was like thinking about this deck lately. I don't know if I have it. I want to say I don't have it. The Mystic Mondays. I was going to look for the Hermit because it's an energy that's kind of like, that's what we find. When we trade the Hierophant's light for our own light, eventually we meander our way down to wherever the, I don't even know how to pronounce that word, portcullis. It's one that I've like read a lot more than I've heard it. There are actually quite a few words that I've read before hearing it. And English is not a strong, heavy grating that can be lowered down grooves on each side of a gateway to block it. So yes, yes and no and yes. Yes, because it was giving that like at the gateway energy. No, because what is this lowering weight? I don't get it. Oh, is that like a Oh, it's this thing. Okay, cool. I was thinking more like a drawbridge, like it folds out rather than it like just coming down. So a portcullis is like this thing, those things. That's where we find the portcullis. I wanted to see how to pronounce it. Of the abyss.
Portcullis.
Portcullis, kind of like how it's spelled. Well, port is like a doorway, right? Or portal. What's the cullis? Come on, brain. So that's why I was going to look for the Hermit. Also, in the Mystic Mondays tarot, both the Hermit and Judgment have the double sort of mirror energy where we go. So there are two interfaces between the internal and the external. There's the immediate, right? We retreat behind the eyes, and there is our mind, our brain, and then there's all that occurs outside of us. But if we go even further than that, it's possible to go so far inside that we reemerge outside. And the outside that we reemerge to is different than the outside that we observe. Right? You could say it's the difference between like observing and witnessing people and then like knowing their motivations and intentions, sort of like the why and the how we do what we do, rather than just like seeing everybody do whatever it is that they're doing. So that actually works. I was actually thinking about that. So I'm going to look before and after, but I kind of want to do just like a sample one, right? I don't know what I want to do. I never know. I'm grabbing the SKT because for me, again, it's one of my more conceptual sort of decks in a way that's not necessarily like abstract, if that makes sense. And I wanted to look, I kind of had an idea. Maybe I shouldn't have. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it doesn't, don't take it. But when I was talking about like the mirror last time, it's kind of that energy. And maybe, like, again, there's the angel of the void that sort of sits beyond, watching lovingly, patiently, waiting. That's kind of how it came through mentally. It's almost like, I think in Chicken Little, there's somewhere else, even like, I think Three Body Problem, it's one of those like false sky types of energies. And just because, not because like the sky is fake or whatever, but it's because like our gaze doesn't necessarily penetrate beyond that. And that's what it does, right? Seeing beyond the glass of the two-way mirror. I know I want to use this deck. I could use an archetype or an alchemy. Maybe I'll just start here and then we'll see. Maybe that's how we'll do this. Maybe. And I kind of wanted to use the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards for the many paths, but I don't know. So yeah, I kind of want to just get like an example, like a dummy reading. With someone, you could argue that they're all dummy readings. Because it is one of those things that I would imagine is different for everybody. Um, and oh, yeah. So the first major is going to be the concept, right? And we'll see two sides of the concept. Ooh. Okay. Love the confirmation. Abyssus abyssum and woke out the depths of you, call to the depths of me. Excuse me, again, at the portcullis of the abyss, where the internal reemerges to meet the external, the seeker at the bottom of the deck. Interesting. And then the hanged one at the cut with the seeker. Odin sought and he found, at least in part. I could use the runes, I guess. Especially the raw runes. They're more conceptual, less concrete. But I don't know if I'm going to do that. I'm looking from the top. I'm going to flip cards because it's to like put something within grasp, within my reach. Maybe you are wiser than I, and whatever. Someone said I had like a southern accent. I was like, excuse me? I am Midwest, like Midwestern boy, like through and through. Hello? The South. I'm not even on the south side of my hometown. Hello? Anyway, to make it easier to grasp. Again, a lot of the complexities and a lot of the subtleties and intricacies, I feel like in an arena like this, subtlety means a lot. And you could almost say that, um, oh, why can't I not think of the word? I use it all the time. It's like that nitpicky, like, does it really matter? I don't know why I can't think of the word right now. They really matter because it's almost like if we look at an evolutionary line, right? And like, let's say, however many years ago, one of someone's ancestors decided to do one thing, right? There was the weird dog wolf thing that went back into the water. And then eventually, over a long time, they kind of like lost their back legs and now they're like dolphins and orcas, right? It's because it happens at so far of a remove, or because it is so, because the nature of it itself is so subtle that in like reality as it materializes, it can become like much, much, much different, right? Like a point of divergence. So again, this is going to be surface level. Maybe contemplate if it resonates, if you want or not. Ooh, the Nine of Wands, the Malaise. Which is funny because I still want to look for the Nine of Wands in the Revelations edition, where this is a sort of crossroads. By the time the cards come, I might forget that I even had the thought to ever do it. Ooh, the Chancellor and the Seeker. So our first major is the Chancellor. So we're dealing with the concept of justice. We're dealing with the concept of the Chancellor, which can be interpreted to be justice. Bottom of the deck is the title card. Under the title card is the Nine of Wands, or the Nine of Pentacles, sorry, and the Five of Swords that we saw before. This is a fiercely independent energy. And again, the last time we saw the Five of Swords, it was with the King of Cups. This is a Five of Swords energy that doesn't answer to anybody. They answer only to themselves. And so there is no, it's not that the person is amoral, or it's not that it leans towards amorality. It becomes the embodiment of its own concept. And it embodies that concept in a way that is no respecter or considerer of the opinions or the beliefs of others, right? Like if it is a concept of justice, right? With that Five of Swords, King of Cups energy, that is someone who operates under their own code of ethics and whatever, right? And so it could be very easy for someone on the outside to feel slighted or whatever and be like, well, if you're supposed to be an embodiment or not an avatar, but kind of the concept of justice, well, that wasn't very fair. Like, that wasn't very just of you to do this or to not do that or whatever. And, like, again, with that Five of Swords, King of Cups energy, they don't answer to anyone else. So the justice that they embody the concept of is not what anyone else may or may not consider to be justice. It's not justice for anyone else. Although, of course, there could be many things that they do that align with a more commonly held conception or belief or perception or idea of what justice is. Now it's funny because I was going to look for the warrior in this deck because the warrior is the master of the mystic light. But again, well, yeah, the Chancellor, Angel of Justice. I almost used the Energy Oracle cards for the Angel of Love, Angel of Balance, Angel of Strength, I think. Excuse me. A senior state or legal official is a chancellor, the head of the government in some European countries, such as Germany. I'm just looking up chancellor. The president or chief administrative officer of a college or university, a bishop's law officer, the presiding judge of a chancery court. A chancellor serves as the chief executive of a university or campus, overseeing academic. Okay, yeah. They're the one that like oversee things. It's interesting. So this chancellor, because it is the chancellor, it operates on behalf of others, on behalf of an organization, on behalf of a populace that is governed by that organization. Cool. So that's our concept. I am going to look before and after the Hermit again because of what it generally symbolizes. And also, I'm going to look before and after the Queen of Swords is pre-justice. What's minor justice? Maybe the Six of Pentacles. Oh, that was one of the smoothest flips ever. Who is it? Looks like the Initiate. No, it's not. Oh, yeah, it is. The Initiate just did the cleanest flip ever. I could have pulled the cards before and after because they're both face down, but I didn't because I wasn't thinking. Oh, and then there's the Queen of Swords. Interesting. So again, our card is the second card from the bottom. Or I guess the Chancellor was the second from the top. The Scarlet Shield, Queen of Swords, power and authority of air, is in between the Warrior, which is the card I was going to look for because it's the master of the mystic light, and the Knight of Wands, which is lightning and the pyre. Lightning and the pyre is interesting because that's another card I was going to look for in the mystical shaman oracle cards. And again, last time I talked about the whole association with fire and lightning, and now we see it reflected here in the shining flame, lightning and the pyre. So, if I were to give a not modality, a tense maybe, the tense of this particular expression of this concept is active, both because of the seeker and because it's like there's the movement of the Knight of Wands, there's the movement in the element of fire itself, Also, fire correspond and lightning correspond with light, right? In the darkness, if you light a fire, you'll be able to see a little bit, at the very least. The sun, that provides a lot of illumination, is, you could say, a great big ball of fire. Someone said it. And it's interesting because of that sort of what it was like the King of Swords into the King of Air energy that we saw. Master of the mystic light, and then with lightning and the pyre, they both put off light. Also, this is really like fire heavy. We saw the Nine of Wands last time. I also want to look before and after the Hermit. Here we go. I was like, where did I put the cards? Oh my gosh. So under the card that was after, I think it was the Warrior. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was, because if the Warrior was at the bottom, I would have mentioned it first. So there's the Rogue, Moon in Aquarius, the Erudite, and then the Ebony Shield. So again, the second card in this trio is the one that I'm looking for, from the bottom or from the top, from where it is that I start looking. The intention is to attempt a gross oversimplification that maybe gets the wheels turning. And like, I had a dream last night. It was interesting. I had a dream last night that it was one of those, like, not one of those like you're a wizard, Harry, but if you've ever had a dream where you can do stuff, it was one of those dreams. And I remember, I feel like the whole dream, or the only part of the dream that I remember, was so like, it was just like weird how easy it was to do stuff, or how much more like power, I guess, was behind it. And in the dream, it was something that was like, because in the dream, I'm like, why is this so like different? Like, why is it so easy? Why is it so much more like powerful than it should be? And it was something that was like, I guess you could say there was some kind of like confluence of sorts that made something even like better, or it added like momentum or energy or power. And it was just like, yeah, it's the confluence. But it was not necessarily like the thing was changed. Before, after. Cool. It's like it wasn't, but it was. Almost like, I am not the biggest DC or Marvel or superhero fan. I, by all accounts, probably should be, but I'm not. I guess I prefer more fantasy. Um, it's almost like how, like, Superman under the yellow sun has like powers that he may not have on Krypton. Speaking of the sun, what am I doing with this? I don't know. The Chancellor as a concept is interesting because we have concepts of justice. Now, obviously, I'm using a deck that was created by someone. So how easy is it to read a title on a card and it not be something completely unfamiliar? You know what I mean? Maybe that's why the Nine of Wands is here on one side and this why the Seeker is on the other. Spirit in search of experience is the Seeker. Spirit in search of science, sorry. Spirit in search of science is the Seeker. So it is, again, it's that energy of like seeking the truth of a concept beyond the constructs that have been formed that we associate or treat as concepts themselves. And maybe that's why so much of this concept is elusive with that huge moon right there. It's so elusive because we have so many ideas around what it is. I saw on Instagram someone asked a question about, it was someone asked a question to a guru. It was one of those. And the person asked about like 1111 and manifestation. And the guru, I didn't watch the whole thing, but from what I got, I remember him saying like people should have like a mind of science. And he was like there's a lot of information about like what it means to see 1111, but it the implication was almost that of like if we had like a science-based mind or took a science-based approach, we would discover or see the truth of something beyond the hype of what it's supposed to be. Almost use the word facade. Um, right. It's like, again, with this concept in particular, there aren't many majors that could have come out. Excuse me, maybe any that would have been a completely unfamiliar concept. I understand that. Let me put that to the side. Um, it's like, we've been told what 1111 sort of means, which is kind of funny because when I saw my journey buddy, I caught 11:11 p.m. on Sunday or Saturday. I caught 11:11 p.m. one day. She caught 11:11 a.m. the next day. Anyway, he's basically like if you take a science-based approach, you would see that it doesn't actually mean anything. Like nothing actually happens. It's just what somebody said, and then a lot of people said, and maybe there is a what deck would I use? Oh, I don't have a Rider Waite Smith. I want a smaller deck so I can lay the cards on top of these. Legends, cool. Why not? That fits the bill. Uh, it's like maybe it's taken on some kind of whatever because of all of the energy that we as people put into it, like boogeymen of our own creation. It's the concept, it's like a vessel of fear given shape or form, but instead of fear, like a boogeyman, it's a vessel of like hope given shape or form, but it can be so easily tainted by delusion because of what the thing dissuades us from doing, right? Meaning, whatever. And the Chancellor is number 11. LOL. LOL. I don't, because there are constructs of concepts. And then there's like a man made, I don't know. I can't think of a word. Because it's like there are man made constructs. Yeah, yeah, it works. There are like natural constructs, and then there are man made constructs. There are like certain phenomena that their existence is like predicated upon some natural truth, right? Like rainbows, because of whatever our scientific understanding is, rainbows are a thing. Rainbows are a construct that are very much so like naturally based. I didn't even see this. How my number one fan texted me I'm late for my scheduled live? Hello? Get out of here. Anyway, I'm finally gonna get some donuts tomorrow. I don't need any more sugar, it's fine. I'm sorry. There are man-made constructs like boogeymen that are like it's an urban legend that takes on a certain kind of energy or life because so many people have said that whatever is what it is, that it kind of comes to be. Now, there are also, like, some people could say that a lot of gender stereotypes are man made constructs, right? It's because of what we expect from males or females that men and women exist in sort of like the spaces that they do, and that certain activities and roles and positions and dynamics are like masculine and feminine, right? So yeah, it was basically that like if we are of a science mind, we would see that the whole 1111. And I'm not saying I agree, I'm not saying I disagree. It's just what I saw. And it's working its way in here. If we were in search of science or were of a science mind, we would see that there is no true correlation between one thing and another, besides what people say. I keep like taking my glasses on and putting them off. Taking them on and putting them off. I keep putting them on and taking them off. Six of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting because that was like, I was like, is that minor justice? Excuse me, it can be. If we perceive that something needs to be given and we give it, then we are stepping the role of justice, kind of. We are correcting something. Three of Cups, which we saw yesterday. Cute. Oh, no. Now it's on the ground. I'm not going to move the chair because I might roll over the card again. I can't break my own heart like that. The Knight of Cups. I saw the Knight of Cups. I thought it was on the table. It's interesting that this Knight of Cups is with two wolves. Interesting because of the Ten of Pentacles that came out yesterday or on the second in the last live. It was a Ten of Pentacles that was like two fives between the lady and the wolf. which is also interesting because in the strength card, we saw the lion that was being encouraged to speak. I think it was the final card from the Good Tarot. So those were two cards of Lady and Beast. Cool. I'm going to look before and after Justice. Bottom of the deck is a title card. These title card energies. Title card, Five of Wands, Queen of Cups, Six of Pentacles, Queen of Wands, Six of Swords, and the Ten of Wands. It's interesting because the Queen of Pentacles is also here. I went looking for the Queen of Swords, so I won't necessarily count that. I'm looking for Justice. Justice. Also, what's interesting about the Chancellor as a representative is, or the interesting thing of the Chancellor as a concept is that it is a representative of an organization, of a body, of whatever. I wonder if this is an 11 justice. It's an 8 justice. Speaking of strength. So we have the World, Justice, and the King of Cups. Which is this wolf without the lady? That's interesting. In the World, the lady is with a griffin and a baby dragon. And the wolf stands on the side. It's also interesting because, again, the whole reason why I'm picking this deck, Nine of Pentacles, is after this. Nine of Wands, Nine of Pentacles. We saw both the Nine of Fire and the Nine of Earth yesterday. Nine of Earth and the Good Tarot, the 3 and the 9 of Earth. The Nine of Fire and the Tarot of Dreams. It's interesting because I'm looking for this as like the man-made construct, as the misconception. And the wolf is one of, I feel like, the prime examples of how somebody somewhere observed some kind of dynamic and came up with this whole reasoning of why wolves are the way they are. Like, how can it be both this soul, like lone wolf, but also like this whole alpha, beta, even gamma, like the wolf pack dynamics, right? Versus like the lone wolf. And also ways that we choose to identify based off of this understanding, based off of observation and assumption. Educated, sure, but assumptions and observations. Now, you could say, actually, because I mean, speaking of dreams, I had the dream with the girl, the lady on the griffin that could not handle it, question mark. Like, I don't know if the griffin was flying too high or if the griffin was flying too fast, but it's like she was starting to asphyxiate midair. Like the oxygen was too thin and she like almost fell off. And it's interesting because this lady stands beside the griffin. And then in our signifier itself, like these twin dragons are this sort of justice energy. But it's like she's ignoring the dragon to focus on this like griffin. And because she does, it's almost like because she doesn't give it the time, care, attention, because she doesn't properly care for the dragon, it stays immature. It is an eternal child. And it's not an eternal child by design. It's not an eternal child by intention. It's an eternal child because of like neglect and some kind of like permanent infantilization due to whatever beliefs, whatever. Right. But it's interesting because of that dream. It's like this becomes a thing more of like status. Right. She proudly stands beside the griffin as like some kind of symbol of her power or whatever. But it's like in reality, like she can't even ride it. Right. It's almost like even if that were the correct path, she can't even walk down it. And again, it's interesting that this is under the concept of the chancellor because it's almost like with that world energy, it's all about like appearances. And there's no substance there. And you could say, well, like, yeah, the chancellor is the face of an organization. And it's like, yeah, but they're not just the face. You know what I mean? There is like depth there. What I will do is look before and after antimony because the gray wolf is staring her down again because of both the Knight of Cups that came out with two wolves and because of the Ten of Pentacles, Ten of Earth that came out in the Good Tarot yesterday. We already know who the lady's compatriot is supposed to be. Supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be the wolf. And it's also interesting because in this Knight of Cups, she's like boots on the ground, rather like active participant, rather than this like pretending to be airborne, just like status, sort of like symbol. Right. And maybe that's another thing. Maybe there are some things that are more involved than we would like for them to be. Which is why the man made concept is so enticing. But again, that kind of sort of plays into the whole domestication of people, even like a domestication of spiritual people. Because like it's almost like imagine that you are someone powerful and incredibly capable and you are poised to make large sweeping changes and some you start to see your little like synchronicities. You're seeing like your 1111, and it's almost like we can have a tendency to kind of like stop and then to wait for whatever to happen rather than to like continue or to push or to pursue, right? Like if an 1111 was a green light, like keep going instead of it being like, oh, like you can stop, you've done everything that you need to do. Now you just like wait for your ship to come in, wait for the manifestation to just like happen. And like it can take the wind completely. Can, it doesn't necessarily have to, right? Can take the wind completely out of our sails, where we just kind of sort of like take a passive waiting posture rather than a more engaged one. Why am I looking at my phone? I don't remember. I felt like I was gonna look something up, but excuse me, what I'm going for should be antimony. 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 There was something, I don't know. I've seen so many reels, right? I feel like it's a whole meme now where it's like I put something on my resume and then I'm asked to do the thing and I have no clue how to actually do it. And so it was like, what was it? I want to, I can't think of an example right now where it's like, for example, it's a terrible example, but I can't think of an actual one right now. It's like I put like tech savvy on my resume. And when IT asks me to like clear the trash bin, and then the person is like taking the garbage outside rather than like on their computer clearing the trash bin or like deleting or like clearing a cache or whatever, right? It's like if you actually knew, like you wouldn't be doing this completely unrelated thing. But again, that's kind of sort of like the man-made construct versus the concept, right? There's our interpretation for whatever reason, and then there's like the truth of what the thing actually is. And again, that's the whole appearances posturing of this world card energy of justice rather than the chancellor. So again, this is like meant to be general, part of the journey. That's why the hermit is here, though, right? I don't the Rio Karukian hermit starts with the light of a hierophant. And there's so much that they discover. They go inside and they're like, oh my gosh, now they're seeing all of the synchronicities, right? They're like hierophant minded rather than being like science minded, where it's like, oh, I'm seeing all of this, but like, does it actually matter? You know what I mean? Or is it just like, oh, like the tricks of the magician, the illusions? But when the Hierophant switches the light of the Hermit for its own light, or for the light of the true divine, then they start to like see not only like synchronicities and stuff, but ones that like actually matter, actually materialize, actually manifest. Like it's more than just like, oh, I'm seeing these numbers everywhere, but like things kind of sort of like stay the same forever. And then after they explore with their own light in communion imparted by discovered in conjunction with the divine, they come into more. They find the wellspring on the other side. The wellspring is the portcullis to the abyss or to the beyond. Oh, speaking of abyss, the blue temple. Cool. Azure vault. That's kind of mixed. Under or with the light of the Hierophant, that's this concept of like justice. Or that's where we venerate, question mark. I almost want to say venerate the man-made construct of justice. Ooh, okay. Had an immediate flipper. Coverum or Coverum Terra, Earth's heart, number 52. Earth's heart is interesting because of that energy of the fastest day. There's whatever happening in the core of the Earth, and then there's whatever's happening with the moon that caused it to spin just a little bit faster. I'm looking from the top. We're looking from the top. We have Rosa Aureum, the golden rose. Hyros Gamos, alchemical wedding. And gold, Aurum. Rosa Aurum and Aurum. With the Hyros Gamos in between. The Hyros Gamos is what the Hierophant is supposed to do. The Hierophant is not a substitute for the divine. The guru, although a maybe even peerless mentor, is not the font of everything in the same way that a deified or divine energy is or would be. But sometimes we treat them as if they are, and we treat their word as as ineffable as the divine, but as people, they are still people. Right? They got to wake up and make their choices every day, just like the rest of us wake up and make choices. But the purpose of the Hierophant is to lead us to the divine so that we can get to know the divine for ourselves beyond the construct or the vessel that appears before us. Okay. I'm looking for antimony. The gray wolf. The gray. How do you say gray wolf? Grease? Lupus? Lobo. Grease Lobo? I'm sorry. I say as I continue to do the thing anyway. It's already on Spanish. El Lobo Gris. Hey, the gray wolf. El Lobo Gris. The gray wolf. Whoop, 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 whoop. Let's go. Let's Duolingo. Which is funny because I'm learning another language on Duolingo. Now, I was doing Spanish for hundreds of days. And one of my ex-roomie is like Mexican. So he's a Spanish speaker. It could be literally anybody who spoke Spanish. But every now and then I'll I don't know, for my whole language learning practice, whatever, I'll do whatever I would tell him what I was learning on Duolingo. He sent me a thing that someone was like, has Duolingo worked for anybody? And people were in the comments oh, I basically no. And they were making jokes oh, I know how to say that the dog is doing whatever, right? And my whole thing was not that they're not doing it right, but it's it's a lot to expect for anything or anyone to basically, it's not that we expect too much, but how tall of an order is it to expect from any teacher every single thing and every single situation or circumstance that you will ever find yourself in, every thought you will ever have, every conversation you will ever be engaged with. That's a lot to expect for them to anticipate for us to feel like we're whatever, right? It's like as long as you know the grammar and the basics, like that's what dictionaries and other things are for. Like English is my, like I was saying earlier, English is my native tongue. And there are words that I've only read that I've never heard pronounced. So someone could say the word and I have no idea what it means just because I don't know that that word is pronounced that way because I've never heard it. Or there are plenty of words in English that I've never read or heard. You know what I mean? And so when I approach language learning, I think of stuff that like I want to say. I use the grammar and the concepts that I know, and if there's something I don't know, I go to a dictionary and I look it up. You know what I mean? Like if I don't know how to say a certain color, then I'll just look up the color. It could be a lobo, whatever. You know what I mean? Anyway, because and I only say that because, well, are they being nice or whatever? Like there was somebody that I used to work with, and I was a few hundred days into my Duolingo lesson, and like we would have very elementary like conversations. I would be able to understand her, and she would be able to understand me. And I was like, "Yeah, that's Duolingo." She's like, "Oh my gosh, like for Duolingo, that's like very impressive." And I'm like, "I know, right?" Also, I've learned a few languages, not to fluency, but I've learned extremely elementary, like 2 and maybe a half years old Mandarin. I did up to intermediate Japanese, and I took Latin in high school. So anyway, again, sort of with like there's a point behind it. Nothing is necessarily everything besides the all. And when it comes to the all that is the all, there are so many things that we have to learn because we are living, growing beings, or that we may never know because it's not our business to know. Right. So, even from a reader or a guru or a mentor, like we can always give our opinion, we can always give feedback, we can always seek on behalf of others, but ultimately there are some things that come down to a individual experience, right? Anyway, there's my little rant, or one of them. I don't know, the resource could be better if we used it better. Cool. I saw the uncreated somewhere. Oh, oof. We have blood. The gray wolf is out for blood. Oof. And the drowned king, which is interesting. Here's the drowned king. We already saw the blue temple. Bottom of the deck is scintillate, sparks of light, which I love. Ouroboros is on the other side. I don't know. In general, I would dare to say that there are some misconceptions that we hold, maybe even dearly, because of what we need for them to mean. And just because we need for something to be whatever for us doesn't mean that it necessarily will be. Even the divine, right? There are plenty of people that need plenty of things that they ultimately don't get, right? The meal that's between someone living and finally passing from starvation, not everyone gets that. on an extreme. We're going on an adventure. We're going on a trip. Zooming through the sea. Little Einstein. I had a dream. Oh, that was the Backyardigans. Every now and then, I've had a dream that made me so angry that I like woke up yelling. I've had a dream that was so funny, I woke up laughing. And I've had dreams that have been so heart wrenching that I wake up in tears. Um, but one time I had a dream with the Backyardigans, like I woke up laughing because it was like really tickling my funny bone. And so when it came up in the dream, I got stuck. There was another dream I had, like I was at church. I was at church and there were these like two little girls on the stage and they were like singing a Mariah Carey song. And then at one point they just started like literally screaming. And it was so funny that I woke up laughing. And I told my grandma about the dream. No offense to any of the lambs. I told somebody about the dream. And they were like, all Mariah Carey do was scream anyway. I was like, oh my gosh. Why is half of the deck in reverse and half of the deck upright? Okay, maybe it's not half. I'm going to look before and after the shark because this is blood in the water. I mean, I've only had, I think, one dream that I can remember that made me so angry that, like, I woke up because I was just like, no. I was like, absolutely not. And I woke up. I've had a few dreams where I was so sad um, that I woke up, mostly because of someone who had, like, passed. And so when I saw them in a dream, I was like, I know that I'm dreaming because you're not here anymore. And it's kind of sad because, like, that person, it was a few dreams I had, and then they, like, never popped up in my dreams again. So I feel like even in dreams, like, I didn't get to, like, say goodbye or whatever because I was just so upset. Like, I wanted it to be real. Oh, look, there's the dolphin. We were just talking about dolphins. I've seen so many, like, I've seen articles, like, scientists say that whales, dolphins, the like, have, like, crossed the evolutionary point of no return. Like, they can never go back to land again. And it wasn't until, like, yesterday that I saw, like, a picture of, like, the ancestor and the whole, like, they went back into the water and then over time they just, like, lost their hind legs. Ooh. Somebody fell on the floor. Who is it? The hawk. Hawk is interesting. I was just thinking about hawks for reasons. Bottom of the deck is the cobra in reverse. What I love about the hawk and the cobra in reverse is now the whole deck is like in reverse. Some of the cards are upright, some are in reverse because of how I reassembled them. What I like about these two, what's interesting about these two is in this deck, the cobra is a mentor, but um, hawk and cobra, it gives me a like, is it a Naga Garuda type of vibe or like a mongoose snake? Like it gives me that Horus. I guess it's Apep and whoever Apep's. Actually, it gives me this, the bird that eats the snake, winning out over chaos. It gives me that energy, but But here, the snake is in reverse. The cobra is in reverse. So it's almost like the cobra isn't behaving in a way that is expected. And so the hawk shouldn't either. Right. It's like the tension between the birds or Garuda and the snake or the Naga is the snake is doing something that it shouldn't be doing. And so that's why the bird, the Garuda, is needed to come in and to do whatever. But if the snake isn't doing that, then it's not needed. And this isn't one of those like snakes in the grass types of like, well, they like eventually they'll do something because that's what snakes do. And it's like it is not the nature of the snake to be chaotic, but it is the narrative of the snake for us to see all snakes in those ways. And if again, it's like if the hawk doesn't see beyond the facade of the narrative, they may do something drastic that actually brings the chaos that they were acting and behaving to avert. So it's almost like I don't know if this is like a it's giving like turn of the century type energy just because like the tables are turned, the perspective is like flipped on its head. We're scripting the flip rather than flipping the script. Whoever I used to see that ad on or on YouTube all the time. The whole like um was it a Moto Razor ad maybe? It's the whole like, people or they say flip the script, but we say script the flip. Now, if the flip is scripted, then there are many things to consider. Maybe the script is, or maybe the flip is scripted. There was an energy recently of like giving people enough rope, or there was an energy recently of like someone who had caught on to something, someone who had seen the concept beyond the construct. And because they saw the concept, they could start to see the discrepancies between the truth of that concept and the man-made constructs of that concept. Yeah, maybe they found out that a construct wasn't as natural, organic, or divine as they were led to believe, and it's actually engineered, created, manufactured, artificial, man-made. There are plenty of narratives that are constructed, and somehow people just don't see beyond the intentionally constructed and designed narrative. Let's relax the tension in the shoulders. But that energy did come out recently. That was like, if you peep what's going on, like, don't say anything because something has to play out to fruition in order for a certain truth to be irrefutably and irrevocably known. Cool. Hawk came out. So far the cards that fell out, we have the Initiate, the Knight of Cups, and the Hawk. Also, Sun Splendor is on the table. Or Earth's Heart. Earth's Heart is on the table. That fell out. Is that a thing? Let's see.
El lobo gris.
El corazón de la tierra. The heart of the earth. El corazón de la tierra. Thank you. I always feel so accomplished. But again, that's like Duolingo never gave me that prompt when I'm learning. It's up to me to figure out how to use the knowledge and information that's put in my brain and my resources to figure out how to say what I want to say. And if I butcher a rolled R, I'm better at it now than I was when I started, which is actually interesting. And maybe it's a thing of repetition. Like when I first started learning Hindi, there were a lot of sounds that I couldn't differentiate by ear, but now I can. Anyway, the heart of the earth. Boo, 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 boo. I'm looking for. Ooh. They're all in reverse. The hummingbird, the shark, and the oyster. I wanna dance naked in the water. That song is stuck in my head. Oh, why? Well, there's a line in that song. Um, it's like, and if you wanna, whatever, excuse me, just take me on a ride, take me through the stars like we used to do back in the day. And if you really wanna live naked in the water, I think that's the name of the song. If you really want to go, I'll take you on a ride. I'll take you through the stars like we used to do back in the day. And if you really want to leave, please take me on a ride. Just take me through the stars like we used to do back in the day. Or is that like take me through the stars like we used to do back in the day? That take me through this. It's giving me concept beyond the construct, beyond the mirror that is the atmosphere, or the glass that is the atmosphere through which we observe these concepts in the sky. It's like finding the truths beyond that. It almost gives an energy that was like the Watcher's Tower. I know Rob and Reem did a live together back in the day, and Reem had a dream about like faces and the thunder, and it's giving that kind of energy, like the concept beyond the construct, seeing the truth beyond what we need for things to be for our own sanity, peace of mind, and concept of constructed reality, and beyond the constructed narrative. Anyway, there is the sweetness of the hummingbird, and then there's the oyster. We get so distracted by the hummingbird that we never find that pearl inside of the oyster. Or we do find the pearl inside of the oyster, but then we just like toss it into the ocean. Like these are all of the pearls of so much wisdom that the divine and life has attempted to teach us that we discard for convenience or for ease or because it doesn't fit either like a certain narrative, or it's like it's not something that we want to see. And as long as we choose willingly to be blind, There is no justice to befall anything or anyone that would deceive us because we deceive ourselves. You know what I mean? And it's not everything that we do to ourselves can be. It's just like it's an extension of our own self-deception. And because it's an extension of our own self-deception, there is no justice to be had. It's the proof that validates what it is that we were already looking for, that we already believe. If it wasn't that, it'd be literally anything. Sometimes nothing. What it feels like these pearls are being collected, though. Like, we could say it's a misconception that sand and irritation is the seed of the pearl inside of the oyster because there's nothing but sand at the bottom of the ocean, the sea, the river, the lake, wherever oysters live. There's like nothing but sand there. You don't find pearls just like floating in the water naturally. We assume that because all there is sand, that sand must be what the oyster eventually turns into a pearl. Just like we make all kinds of assumptions about wolves and their behaviors, and then we choose to personally identify with these. Either we're the lone wolf or we're the alpha, and other people are betas. And it's like, girl, don't. We don't even know what we're talking about, which is fine if it fits us, right? And that's how we choose to identify, or that's the frame that makes sense to us for us to see ourselves. Then it's like, who is anyone else to say how right or wrong that is? But it's almost, at least here thematically, it's like the oysters snap up this gold or the pearls that are free floating in the ocean, sea, river, lake, whatever, and they like safeguard them. And it's like that's why you don't see any, because the oysters gobble them up. This is low key, not like weird, but the wolf puts the blood in the water, which attracts the shark that calls the oyster. You could say this is like a metaphorical guarding of certain secrets. Or it is certain truths that aren't shared. Right? It's like only true believers or true practitioners know the truth of something, because there are so many things that have been commercialized. And there's a lot of like, for some reason at the top of my journey, almost 7 years ago, I made a community post about it. I made a community post about it because I just got to see my journey buddy, and it just so happened to line up with right before her seventh rebirthday and like a month, well, 2 months before mine. She actually hit her journey before me, but we reconnected after I started mine. So we reconnected at the perfect time, but she did have like a month on me. Not that it's a competition. Or like 2 months. Well, yeah, 2 months. Because a month after I hit my wall, and then a few weeks after that, I came out of it. Kind of, basically. Anyway, what was I talking about? The wolf that puts the blood in. Oh, yeah, yeah. One of the first things that popped up a lot for whatever reason was like ayahuasca. And so I watched a documentary on Netflix, and one of the people was just remarking on how ironic it is that a lot of Western people seek an escape from a like capitalistic society and prison, basically. But then they go and like commercialize and bring that same capitalism to like other things. And now it's like people who would benefit from their own like not only ancestral but still like current practices, some of them like can't even afford to do their own whatever because it's been the, the everything that whoever was trying to escape they brought with them, and that happens in a lot of ways, right? And that's why sometimes it's fine. There are certain things that are withheld because there's almost a certain level of respect that's not there, right? And there are stories of people trying to benefit from certain practices or beliefs, or people like trying to self initiate and having experiences. And it's so kind of almost wild to me because, like, one of the things I've been thinking about this quite a bit lately because I am African American, in particular in the US, African American. There's a lot of stuff, like, I have ancestral ties to a lot of different places because of, you know, hey, Holly, how you doing? Because of a lot of the intermingling that was happening with or without consent. And so, like, of course, I got my DNA report done. And even before that, and I got to meet my journey buddy's family. Um, and someone was like, it's so tragic how in the slave trade, it became so hard for a lot of African Americans to track their ancestry back because cruel intentional design. Families were intentionally broken up, right? There was a lot of intentional evil that happened. There's intentional evil that happens to this day. And as much history as we have to learn from, and as high as the vibes are, somehow, some way, we just don't see it, I guess. Anyway, I have a lot of touchstones too, quite a few. Like, I have Scandinavian DNA. So, like, oh, like, that's my tie to Norse mythology. My dad's people apparently came from like the West Indies, and there was like some stuff that happened between like India and the West Indies where Hinduism sort of like made a migration. I'm like, oh, that's that sort of tied to that pantheon that I have, and that's something I was like thinking about. But it's interesting because I had a very, very, very brief stint of live and in person in my hometown where people actually like know me. Um, I guess like reading and stuff. And I don't even want my mom, who knows that I'm live right now, to like come in and watch me. And these are like people that I actually interact with potentially because, we live here. I had a very brief stint and I got curious about my own ancestry. And I made a comment to someone, like expressing my curiosity. And the person was like, "Oh, like you want to be careful, like with that pantheon because they don't necessarily uh, react too kindly to like outsiders or whatever." And I'm like you know that like them's my people, right? Like I'm not somebody with no tie that's coming into this with no blood in the game, no skin in the game, coming into this just trying to suck up whatever I can to commercialize and rebrand and whatever. Like this is my ancestry. What do you mean? I don't know, it was just like weird to me. And again, like before that, I had heard that not everything is for everybody, and that's okay. But sometimes I don't know if it's entitlement. It's fine. It's neither here nor there. We don't have to go there. I don't know. It was just weird to me. Anyway, the thing is, there are certain things that just aren't as publicized. Like even in like you have your hermetic orders and stuff like that. They don't. There's a lot of information that's available. Some of it may be more credible than the rest. Again, with the whole 1111 science mind. Excuse me. And maybe it works for some people and it don't necessarily work the same for other people. If you have a mind of science, you'll know that it works for you if it works for you, rather than the whatever of like, oh, this is like anyway. It's almost like it's like these are the secrets. Oops. Now it's on the floor. I'm gonna have to go to the restroom. Okay. Where's my flashlight? The oyster has flopped out of my hand and disappeared. These are like the secrets and the nuggets and the truths that are withheld. And again, with the whole Duolingo of it all, not everything is necessarily, it's like if everything were given, where would the growth happen? Where, like, how would connections deepen? You know what I mean? If we expect for again, it's like the hermit with the light of the hierophant. If the hierophant, if the guru, if the mentor could do everything and say everything, then what incentive or purpose would there be in like getting to know the divine? You know what I mean? So it is kind of interesting because on one hand, with the wolf, it is almost this energy of something that's like fiercely protected. But with the hummingbird coming out on the other side of the shark, like they're not even looking in the same direction. Like, I don't know. I feel like every now and then, like I'm just a person who doesn't know everything, doesn't know everybody, and only sees what I see with the lens and perspective and biases that I hold. But I don't. I feel like every now and then I come across somebody who's like really supposed to like scare devil energies or like banish the darkness or whatever, and it's like I feel like if I'm not scared or intimidated, not that I'm like anybody, but I'm just like I don't see it. It's like the Wizard of Oz. There's a lot of like cowardly lions that are going around and making a lot of noise, but at the slightest whatever, they turn like tuck tail and run. It's like all of that power evaporates, and the light that conquers darkness is like immediately swallowed. And it's not that like we're perfect or supposed to be, but it's not like a narrative of false power. It's almost like, imagine the Matrix, right? But Agent Smith is like in on it. And so Agent Smith, like, or the Oracle is like in on it. And Agent Smith is in on it. And like Neo breaks out of the Matrix, and Neo is doing all of this stuff, and like he's defeating Agent Smith, and he's like doing that weird time, whatever. And like it's like the whole time they're acting. Like Neo's doing this, and then like the Oracle or Agent Smith or the system itself is the one that's like slowing the bullets down. But to Neo, he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so cool, I'm so amazing." And it's like, girl, you're playing a part. You're doing it well. It's like the actor that gets lost in the role that they're playing. But again, it's like we get stuck in the concepts, or we get stuck in the constructs of things. We don't, it's like that's how the age of Pisces could be all that it could be. That's how there could be so many who are so wholeheartedly dedicated to beliefs and doctrines based around love, but that can be so cold and dispassionate and uncaring. And again, there'd be like no cognitive dissonance. There'd be no realization, recollection, recognition of the like blatant paradox that like is, but I don't know. Anyway, all of this again stems from this justice. That's not even the same number. See, but that's the thing. We have like that master number 11 energy that is beyond the 9, let alone the 10, right? It is beyond the 0 to 9 numerology of it all. And rather than this like chancellor, true, like the concept behind the construct of justice, it's like this 8 that we get like stuck at, where our concept of justice is what is fair for us or to us in particular. And justice could, it's like within the corrupt court of law, the construct of justice could win, where the concept that is the chancellor loses every time. And we would think it speaks to the intentionality behind a lot of the stuff. Anyway, not surprised to see all of this here. Again, that's when it's almost more dangerous to feel like we have an idea of the truth of something. We treat constructs as if they're concepts, and we don't even scratch the surface of the concept, the actual concept. Sometimes we dig below the surface of the construct. It's like Earth's heart. Thank you. This is the truth of the concept. This is getting to know the concept. This is the construct. And then this is like the world, right? So we get into the construct, we dig like into the middle, we pass this like gold, And we're like, oh my God, like I know so much, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, like we haven't even scratched the surface of the true concept. We're still in the realm of the construct that has been crafted, created, either intentionally, externally, or personally for whatever reason, because of what we need to believe to feel like there's hope in the world, or because of what we need to believe to feel like we're a good person. And it's not that there isn't hope in the world, but it's like the hope that sometimes we can play into is, again, it's the act, it's the charade, it's the performance put on by that like Oracle Agent Smith type energy, where they have us feeling like we're Neo, but in real life, it's like they're like if we were science minded, we would know that like bullets don't move like that. Like in real life, that doesn't happen. But when we're in the doing whatever, we're like, oh my God. And this, I'm, I don't know. And again, maybe it just, mm, it's fine. We got derailed by the construct, and this is all about the concept. So let's set this aside. But like that's why this Knight of Cups energy is here. That's why the initiate is here. That's why the hawk is here with that bird's eye view, like seeing the truth. I don't sometimes it's like if we really believe what it is that we claim to believe, or if we really were who and how we thought we were, like would we not see certain things? But it's life, it's a journey, it's a process. The Nine of Wands, the Malays, the Seeker, the Warrior, the Shining Flame, the Rogue, and the Ebony Shield are factors, pieces, parts of, excuse me, the concept. Besides the whole, whatever. What is that saying? We've been, it's like you can't get blood from a turnip. For some reason, like you can't get blood from a turnip is the saying that comes to mind, but the visual is like trying to get milk out of a rock. Like we're trying to milk rocks to make honey. And so if we're milking rocks and we're getting honey, blood from a stone and blood from a turnip, both of those are a thing. But instead of like blood from a turnip was a thing, but like it was getting milk out of a stone. It's a proverbial phrase often appearing as you can't get blood from a stone, meaning that it is extremely difficult or impossible to get something that is not there, especially information or a helpful response from an uncooperative person or entity. Blood from a turnip, you can't get blood from a turnip is an idiom meaning you cannot extract something like money or information from someone or something that doesn't possess it, making the effort futile. It's similar to the phrase you can't get blood from a stone, and both emphasize that you cannot obtain what isn't there. The saying's origin is likely in 19th century English rural communities, using the vivid imagery of trying to get blood from a root vegetable to illustrate the impossibility of the task. Something like when they called it a root vegetable. That makes me think there's a card in the diceology. It's minimizing or maximizing limitation or support. Look to the root. It's like the root, the seed, the not the origin, because origins don't matter. The environment doesn't matter. The situation, the environment is of relative importance. The situation and circumstances are of relative importance because it's like it doesn't matter where the seed is planted, it will grow into what it is. It may be more difficult, it may be relatively easier, but the seed will always grow into what it is. Anyway, Sparks of Light is at the bottom of the deck. I want, I don't know. There was another deck I said I wanted to use. I thought about using the Archeo archetypes. Luke's ex Tenebris, light and light from darkness, or from darkness light. I don't know. I think every now and then, it's like there are convenient platitudes that, again, with that whole potential abdication of responsibility or of anything, it's like there are certain attitudes, adages, idioms, metaphors, stories, beliefs that it's like, well, ultimately, at the end of the day, everything is going to be okay. But there's a large part of the reality that is things will only be okay if we make them so. It's funny because I was just in Chicago on Labor Day. Usually there's just a parade, but there was a whole rally of the labor movement and how the labor movement has benefited people. Corporations, companies, the people at the top, they have never cared for people. It's labor movements that happened back in the day. It's accidents. It's people who got sick. It's like tragedy that had to occur for people to have the rights that they do have, right? Like when it comes to civil rights issues, regardless of where those boundaries are placed, people didn't all of a sudden one day wake up with a full grown or partially grown conscience and be like, oh, like maybe we shouldn't treat people like this. It's like, no, a lot of those rights had to be fought for, and a lot of them came at the price of a lot of blood. And sometimes it's just like, hey, maybe you shouldn't just like massacre and slaughter people for land resource. And it's like it's so wild. Like we've been doing this as a collective for what, hundreds of years, if not thousands, and we still struggle. Anyway, that was that. This is this. But they're not entirely separate, be it by intention or design, be it by circumstance. I wanted to see who or what I can pull before and after either the circle or the council. I did say I want to use the mystical shaman oracle cards. I could also. Oh, the phoenix is here in reverse. The otter is here in reverse. Phoenix and otter in reverse. There was the cobra. So, like, fourth from the bottom was the shark. And then this phoenix. Oops. Oh, gosh. The phoenix and otter in reverse is the energy of. Now they're upright. The phoenix and the otter in reverse is the energy of that hummingbird. Is the energy of life. Well, as long as this is working, as long as that's the charade of it all. But I guess that's the thing with Phoenix energies, right? It's like how some people have to win the lottery just so that we know it's possible to win the lottery. Because if no one won the lottery, eventually people would stop buying tickets. Right? It's almost 2 hours in. I mean, I guess the truth of the thing is something that we would have to personally venture to experience and get to know, right? Again, we're kind of operating in the shadow of the Hierophant here. What I love about this shining flame is that it's that true fire. And it burns in a way, or it's luminous in a way. The truth. Okay, well, this is an assumption, or it's whatever. Because again, who am I? But a person that is trying to read, just like the cards can only give me what the words on the cards can only give me what the author or creator of the decks put on them when it comes to grasping at a concept beyond a construct. My brain is the author. Um, but it's almost like whatever this shining flame is, it's different than other lights. And then again, on the other side is the master of the mystic light. It's like this mystic light. It's like how it's the lightning beyond just fire. Beyond lightning, there is something more. And it's like it's a light that doesn't banish darkness because it is not in competition with it. right? It's like all we have to do is look up at the night sky, and we will see that outside of the presence of the blinding star that is very close to us, there is much, 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 much more darkness than there is in the world. And scientifically, we know that stars die. At some point, everything will return to darkness. We are born, we shine, and then we dim. And there are things, certain things that don't just happen. People make them happen. And again, there's the whole, it's like Saturn and Mars should be two of the most venerated planets because they represent not only an understanding of the systems at play, but also the personal drive to interact with them, change them, whatever. But instead, again, we get that like hummingbird, otter of Venus and Jupiter. Venus associated with Libra, how? In what world is a Venusian energy? But again, that's this whole like concept of justice, or the concept of the chancellor versus the construct of justice. And what world is Venus about what is fair? What is fair to Venus is that she doesn't have to do anything and she gets everything that she wants, and it doesn't matter who is inconvenienced or whatever. And that's wild to me. Jupiter being exalted in Cancer, Jupiter being, well, yeah, if you're going by which deity had the most kids, sure. Juno being associated with marriage, where her relationship is tormenting the people that were just at the mercy of her husband, and she can't do anything to her husband, so she punishes the people who also didn't want any of that. Again, that's why to me, there are just some things that we kind of sort of like not worship or venerate, but it's like we look at in ways that are completely detached from the reality of how they show up. And it's like if something really was what it was, would it not be different? But that's the thing about constructs, I guess. Anyway, I mean, maybe it all needs to be said. Not that it isn't being said and that I haven't been saying it. This chancellor represents someone or something. The chancellor has an authority that is bestowed upon them that they're entrusted with on behalf of someone or something. And that isn't necessarily here. It can be easily found because the seeker is here, and with the seeker, we see the hands of the divine. Also, we see the glyph of Uranus. So it's like the truth is there if we want to see it, really want to see it. But sometimes we think that we want, again, like we only want truths that make us comfortable. We all want to be Neo. And so it's like, when you're little and you play cops and robbers, or you play superheroes, or you play whatever, but we're older, and instead of us playing with a sibling or with a neighbor, we're playing with the universe, where we get to pretend to be all of these things that in reality we aren't, because if we were, the world would be a lot different. Not that things aren't changing, not that there isn't substance, because there is more and more and more substance. And the more substance there is, the easier it is to see where there is no substance, right? It's like if all of a sudden there was a new trend where instead of like 11/11 is out, 11/11 is so 2011. And you know what happened in 2011? The Mayan calendar ended. It's a new age, it's a new era, it's a new season, and a new time. It's all about 7:04 now. And so when you see 7:04 on the clock, that's how you know your angels are really listening. And it's not. With the Seven of Swords and the Ebony Shield. The Ebony Shield in this deck in particular for me is the Divine Temptress. Here, she's just more Temptress than Divine Temptress. Again, if the Hierophant doesn't trade the light of, if the Hermit doesn't trade the light of the Hierophant for its own light, it'll be following a path designated by someone else. That may or may not be the path for them. And it's like whatever the rogue thinks that they're clever and they're taking, this Ebony Shield is freely giving. If the Ebony Shield really wanted to protect that apple, at the very least, it would be behind the shield. But, you know, we get a little knowledge or whatever. We get a little Atlantean this, Hermetic that. We think we is really about that. And again, it's Agent Smith playing the role of Neo woke up from the Matrix. And in order to keep Neo in the Matrix, we gotta make him think that he's broken out of it. And so what we're gonna do is you're gonna get the slow-mo bullets and you're gonna chase them and you're gonna do all this and then he's gonna just go with it. As long as he thinks he's running the show, everything is fine. And then what happened? The robot's like still winning again. Anyway, it's fine. That's this, that's that, that's the other thing. Real light is different than what we've thought. And even here, the bird that devours the snake on that shield, it does so because that's a snake that needs devouring. It's not. It's almost like there are truths and then there are myths. No, there are truths and then there are legends and then there are myths and then there is what is forgotten. Or truth, legend, myth, forgotten. Truth, legend, myth, or truth, myth, legend. But again, with like the Hawk upright and the Cobra in reverse, I don't know, there's like a preemptive whatever. I feel like I'm not getting anywhere else. So I might as well. I mean, I could just keep repeating the same thing ad nauseum. Um, and again, I don't know. Things are definitely different. Things have changed. It's becoming, while it is easier because of the internet, it's easier to be heard, it's easier to be discovered. And it's also easier because there are more and more and more and more and more people seeking some kind of truth. But with the just like deluge of information available, and with a tendency that we can have, maybe born through a need for community and belonging, it can become really easy to just cast aside a lot of stuff in order to like fit in or be one of many. As easy as it is, it can also be extremely difficult. Can be, but sometimes at the end of the day, like it shouldn't be, right? I don't know. There's the arbiter, which is another face of justice. It's the arbiter very much so, more so being another face of the chancellor as a representative. I still, but again, this it's not. This is meant to be a gross oversimplification of the actual thing because it's number one, it's going to be different for everybody. Not only are the concepts that we venerate or see or resonate to the most going to be different, but our own personal take on those concepts are also going to be different. In general, if I read it as it is, and again with like the Griffin, not basically the social media problem is the same as like the spiritual problem is the same as a lot of other problems. There are models for what success look like. There are wicked games of comparison and competition that are semi encouraged, but also entirely personally motivated. And then there is an attempt to embody an ideal. And again, like I'm not saying it's not true for anybody. There are truths that are true for me that I would not actively encourage anyone to take a path that is like mine or to even hold like a posturing and a position and a stance that I do. I intentionally sometimes you could say like make things harder. I intentionally sometimes don't take I'm like as Piscean, shadow of Pisces as like I can be like, I don't know what to do. I need help. Someone help me. As much as I can be like that. Also, I'm very much so like I need to find out what this means like for me. And I appreciate your input. I appreciate the guidance. I appreciate like the framework. But I need to find out how I vibe with this. Um, and I think because of that, sometimes there are certain things that I want out of life. And there are certain things that I want to do and experience. And although ultimately I want to be like that Neo that's playing with the Oracle and the agents Smith of like, I don't actually want to be in danger, but sometimes maybe I want to feel like, oh, that was really close. As much as I would love that, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to experience like anyway. I don't. I just wouldn't necessarily personally encourage it, just because. Why? Why would I not? I think sometimes it is okay to accept something for what it is, especially if we can trust it and if it's trustworthy. Again, it's that energy of lead. It's a time to rely on only what is reliable. It may have been iron and not lead, actually. I'm pretty sure it's iron, and I'm pretty sure that's Mars, even though I confused it for lead and Saturn before. It's a time to rely on only what's reliable. If something is reliable and you can rely on it, then rely on it. Not everything necessarily has to be questioned. Not everything is that deep, even though to me, a lot of things kind of are. Oh, I had a thought earlier. I was like, in the whole, like, what could this energy be of it all? There was something that I saw a while ago. I don't like the deck is in storage. I could. I don't even know how I would do that. I don't know if I would match numbers, if I would match the card. There was an energy in a deck that I have that was very like Jaguar, waiting in the dark. It's almost like a failsafe. And when things get particularly difficult, when things are really at their breaking point, something will like happen and things will turn. I saw that maybe 6 years ago. If not, yeah, probably closer to 6 years ago. If not seven, actually. I gotta go to the restroom. I've been holding it. I'm sorry. I will unmute. Hello. I'll come in slowly rather than noisily because it was just very quiet. Um, so I feel like I'm basically done. Um, but there is an energy. An energy? Yeah, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Um, but that now that I'm talking about it and like actively thinking about it, because there was an energy that popped out years ago, 6 to 7 years ago. That was into 2019, 6 years ago. There was an energy that started to pop out that was this basically an incredibly bright light that dimmed itself and is patiently waiting in the dark for the time for its radiance to be released and revealed, and you can call it oxygenated. which is the brilliant dawn, which is the blinding dawn. Um, and so there has been that again, and it was here at the top that like wink, wink. If you see what's going on, just give it a minute, let it simmer because there's a whole production. We heard that someone loved the show, and we've got a show for ya, for them. Um, and one of those all will be revealed types of whatevers. So they're not entirely dissimilar, but I don't have that deck. I don't have the sister deck. I have a cousin deck. There's an energy. Oh, yeah. So that was the first thought. And the second thought was like, there's like a high key, like actually Neo energy that's going to be like, going to be, if not already, on the scene. And like, again, there's like this whole assumed Oracle Agent Smith collaboration. And like, there's going to be the real Neo. Like, Agent Smith is going to be shooting like real bullets at that Neo, and they're going to be hitting the Matrix, and the Oracle's going to be like, "Why are you using the fake bullets? Like, use the real ones." And the Agent Smith is like, "Those are the real bullets." And then the Oracle is like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, will the real Neo please stand up, please? 'Cause this is getting a little ridiculous. Um. Anyway, I still don't. I'll flip a coin. If it's heads, I'll try. If it's tails, I'll give up. Hey Google, flip a coin, please. Tails. We're giving up. But again, like, this isn't necessarily meant to be in depth. This is an example. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, as it resonates, and if it don't resonate, don't take it. Whatever this is, because it came out the way that it came out, still, it's meant to be whatever. So it doesn't necessarily have to be. But outside of the specifics, like, it doesn't have to be justice. There is a concept that we are in the proximity of realizing the truth of. But there are a lot of constructs, both natural and artificial, that surround this concept. The reason why I pulled before and after the concept is it's like there are some concepts that are so broad, like an archetype. There are some archetypes that are so broad that they can manifest as like seemingly completely different things, but they're still like the same concept. Like sassafras, there are three different kinds of leaves on the sassafras tree, and they're all sassafras. It doesn't matter if you see the single lobed, the mitten, or the almost maple looking one. If those are the three, they're all sassafras. And so it can be more than two. It could be less than two. But that's why I pulled before and after. The energy here is there again, there are many constructs, both natural and artificial, that surround this concept. The As a concept, there is a soundness to it. This is something observable and not just in the delusion of it all. Actually observable, testable by science. but it is also something that is potentially very well defined. And so there's going to be an apparent challenge of, and again, it's like it's not a concept that's completely foreign. It's not a concept that's foreign at all. And so then again, it becomes the whole like, how do we either differentiate what is our actual knowing on a soul level and what is our knowing in terms of like what's been instilled in us and how we've observed things, right? Is it an observed truth or is it like an instinctive truth, which again is a little tricky because the truth of this concept is observable. That's what makes it tricky. The truth is to remember our own limitations in how we observe things versus limitations and how we just like know, right? Because again, we saw the wolf and we saw other things, the bird and the snake, for example, right? Not every hawk needs to be out there snapping up every cobra because not every cobra is that like OPEP, whatever. It's the year of the snake. And maybe that speaks to a certain element of lost time. And that would be time lost because we thought something was whatever it wasn't, potentially. So not only, but there, I want to say like orders of appearance. Again, I just peeped the world card where the lady is standing next to the griffin. All right. That's the thing about being human, having free will, and living on a planet where everything grows until it doesn't. And even when it stops growing, it just grows in a different direction. That's, it's like certain misconceptions we are allowed to run with, especially if it's one that still falls under the umbrella of that concept. If it's a construction that I don't know what the threshold is, but that aligns enough. And because we're not in this alone, there are, like, we all have our own journeys and we all move at the pace that we move in. And so sometimes what we need is something from someone who was still deep on their own journey, right? No one has to be completely healed to be a guru or a mentor or a guide or a person that people seek advice from. No one, there are no requirements to having social media besides having an account. You get influencers of all kinds. And people still benefit. Excuse me. And I'm not necessarily getting a vibe. It's like a vibe of something that will be known, but not something that has to be known. Like, I'm not getting a vibe of like a kind of urgency. Like, this isn't a concept that is floating the collective that's like, I need to be discovered in order for the next whatever, right? Every now and then there'll be like an invention or a breakthrough or whatever discovery that happens across the world at roughly the same time. Take it as it resonates if it resonates, however it resonates for you. Because I'm sure there will be some that like it's time. But the vibe is, especially from like the dam and like that, it was nothing that would ever burst. It doesn't matter how much pressure is on the other side, it will never break. Like when the rainbow came as the promise to never flood the earth again, it's one of those like, it's like that one. It's a video of like some little girl who's like doing, I don't know how young she is, she's like doing gymnastics, and the coach is like, as she's doing her flip, he's like helping her complete the flip, and then she's like, don't help me. And then she tries to do the flip and it doesn't go pretty. It's like that. Again, like if we're like, oh, I would have gotten it, I would have gotten it, I would have gotten it, I would have seen it. Like I didn't need any intervention, blah 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 blah, because last time I blah blah blah. It's like, okay, you don't want to be no Cinderella sitting in a dark, cold, dusty cellar. You're gonna rescue yourself. There's no Prince Charming. There is no divine intervention. There's just sovereign you. You got this. So again, if we do get on that Griffin, I don't know. We just be careful or mindful. And it's not to say that there aren't Griffin writers, right? First have there, and that's another thing. Excuse me. The divine, and by extension, certain concepts can mean different things for different people. And I don't know. Sometimes I do feel a little irony. Oops, who was that? The warrior, master of the mystic light. Sometimes I do feel a little irony in the whole like, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. Live your own life. Your journey is your journey, and you are where you are. But at the same time, being like, this and that and these other things, because again, there is no one path. So just because I don't see something, or just because something isn't true for me, doesn't mean it's not true for anybody. And it doesn't mean that everyone else is wrong and I'm right. Just because whatever means to me what it means to me right now, so that I can get where I'm going. And again, like I already know I'm like weird about some stuff, atypical, because I'm not, because of what I want and what I want out of life. Ooh, interesting. Oh, two cards. Venus in Aries, the Demiurge, Four of Wands, fell out face down, and also the discerning one, Mars in Aries, Venus and Mars conjunct in Aries, Two of Wands. The Demiurge and the discerning one is such an interesting combination. As far as I know, the Demiurge is the master of their own reality. So the discerning one would almost be able to look at something and be like, am I creating this? Or is this something that's created for me? And is it created for me in a way that works for me? Or is it created for me in a way that I work for it? Is there anything I want to change, or does everything remain the same? It's the question at the solar plexus. Am I the master? Like, am I my own master? At the bottom of the deck is the outlaw, sacrifice and redemption. Is the hangman. Is that own perspective? Hanging from the Ankh. Interesting. Under the hangman is the shining waters, the shining dew, that Knight of Cups energy again. Water and the waves. Through the association with waves, the Knight of Cups is about more than just water. Because of waves, it also becomes about like frequency, vibration, um, like anything that kind of like fluctuates or comes and goes or could be measured as a cycle. And it's also interesting because there is a representation of four wands in this two of wands. There's the two wands and then the double Vajra. So like two crossed here, two in parallel there. So it is like this eight of wands energy that's broken down into the six, and it's a six that's comprised of the two and the four. I don't know. That is some like low key Virgo energy. Um, because it's, I don't know, it's almost like things could work perfectly without intervention or input, but would we like not still want to have some kind of say, you know? And it's easy to put that on Virgo. Sorry, Virgo. It just is. It's like, okay, I need the details. I mean, not just Virgo, but it's easy. So I'm a Pisces. I do what's easy. I do what's easy and I overcomplicate everything else. Where are my glasses? Cool. That was, I don't know. Anyway. All right. Clean flipper, clean fall from the Legends Tarot. I'm just thinking to myself. Okay, not yet. We'll go for the water known archetypes. Alchemy, sorry, water known alchemy. Sparks of light. Again at the bottom of the deck. I used to see sparks of light all the time when I first got this deck. The moon with Earth's heart, white salt with the drowned king, rotation with antimony, quicksilver with blood, and gold with Neptune, Jupiter with Hyros Gamos, alchemical wedding, and finally the sun with the golden rose. Cool. Isn't that It's fine. I was gonna say, isn't it interesting that the planet associated with like higher spiritual insights and stuff like that, Neptune, is also like the planet of like delusion and fantasy and illusion? Like, which is it? You know what I mean? Is this some kind of deep ethereal whatever, or is it just like make believe? Maybe that in and of itself is a perfect metaphor for how the journey can feel sometimes. All right. Oop. Oh, I don't know. Oop, oop. That was a clean. Two more cards. Interesting. Bottom of the deck is Calcanatio, Calcification, number 64, which is a 10. The two cards that again came out face down is Spiritus Rector and Ouroboros, Benevolent Guide and the Great Serpent, number 45 and 57. It's interesting. It's almost like the benevolent guide, the truly benevolent guide will never just give you, the truly benevolent guide will never just give you the answer. It will always refer you back to what you know to be true. It will refer you back to your own intuition discernment. It will refer you like back to yourself. Also, it depends on the who, what, where, when, and why of it all, of course. But like that's this energy here. It refers you back to yourself in a way to like deepen that understanding, to deepen your connection and relationship to the divine, a whole bunch of other stuff. And there are a lot of answers that are just like offered. And again, it's not necessarily wrong because they'll be for somebody. But it does also, excuse me, fall to us to have discernment enough to um, not take more than what is for us to take. Or, who knows? Maybe we'll discover something new. Maybe what calcifies someone else's pineal gland decalcifies your third eye. I'm gonna have to get uh, the initiate was still on the table. I'm gonna have to get those back out. Let's get a final animal. Oh wow, and there's another one of these still out. The Knight of Cups. No wonder why I couldn't get a final card. Hello. The deck said, I'm still missing a few cards. I'm gonna put these all up right before I shuffle them. Shuffle them before I shuffle them. Was the whole deck in reverse? Seems like the whole deck was in reverse. I thought some of them were upright. I thought I mixed it up. Guess I didn't. Hey, look, there's the wolf. Where did you go? Oh, it's gone now. I saw it. Oh, between the rabbit and the lizard. The wolf between the rabbit and the lizard. Cool. The same wolf that was putting blood in the water to call the sharks. I do love how this deck shuffles. I may be able to do it. Oh, let's go. Final animal, please. Please, 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 please. Oop, oop. Oh, gosh. Can we stop with the whole floor thing? I ain't trying to roll over cards. I already bent one. The Fox. Y'all remember that book, Fantastic Mr. Fox? I don't remember the story, but I remember it's a book. Is the Fantastic Mr. Fox, for some reason, he makes me think of the fox from Zootopia. Fantastic Mr. Fox. The book. Can I get a brief synopsis? 1970 children's novel written by Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl was British? I don't think I knew that. About a clever fox who steals food from three mean farmers to feed his family. Oh gosh. When the farmers try to catch him, they shoot off his tail and then dig up his burrow, forcing Mr. Fox and the other underground animals to dig deeper to escape. Mr. Fox's resourcefulness ultimately saves his family and the other animals from starvation by leading them to a new underground community with access to the farmers' food stores. Perfect. And we saw the Heart of the Earth. Oh, Corazón de la Tierra. And again, that was that maybe it's in an artificial construct's inability to provide what the concept should provide, that we go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until we find the truth. And I guess that is another journey, another archetypal journey that exists. Sometimes we come across something and we get so deep into it that we discover that there is little resonance for us in particular, but it leads us to other truths, things that are more true for us. The cough, 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 cough. If I say cough, 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 because they got a lot of people. They got a lot of folk, and there's a lot of folk that will tell you to this day, I was one of them. It got me, but eventually I found my way. That's what the folks say. But yeah, it's funny because that was the whole, and I feel like it's stuff like that why there may not necessarily be like a divine intervention, because there are some folks who do ultimately end up discovering truths kind of sort of because of those, right? Bottom of the deck is the Nightingale. Interesting. The Nightingale and the Fox. With the tiger under the Nightingale giving High Priestess vibes. Yeah. Yeah, that's literally the same thing. I was going to say, sometimes we're the fox. Sometimes the fox is something external. Sometimes we are that clever, resourceful, finding a truth that works for us. And sometimes we find ourselves in lose-lose situations, but they give us important lessons, life lessons, right? Okay. The soon-to-be complete. Oh, because the initiate is still on the table. Maybe this is an initiation in and of itself. Again, if we take a matrix standpoint, it was, at least for Neo, a certain initiation to realize the truth of the matrix. Now, does he break out for real, or for play? That's beyond the scope of this reading. The metaphor as it needed has already come. All right, the real final card. Now that the deck is all together, will you see it? Will we see it? Like, because ultimately, if we don't, I don't know. Bottom of the deck is the politics, Sun in Aries. We've seen the 2, the 3, and the 4 of Wands. Venus, Aries, the Sun, and Venus. The card that came out is the Holy See, which is the Hierophant. After the Sun is in Aries, the Sun goes into Taurus. Under the politic is Sacred Fire. Because Sacred Fire is under the politic, that's this 3+1 4. We saw the Demiurge. 3 -1 2. We also saw the Discerning One. That Sacred Fire is giving that Knight of Wands, the Shining Flame, and Master of the Mystic Light, the Warrior energy. You can do some amazing things with light, but when you see, witness, and or are in the presence of that true divine light, it's like it's one of those things that's unmistakable. I mean, it is. It is, but it isn't, but it is. Because there are degrees, excuse me, I don't know. Excuse me. And there was the thing with the keys on the Hierophant, it looked like the flame was like, it looks like a barricade, right? These 2 keys are a barricade to actually accessing whatever. It's like intentionally kept at a distance. Maybe also for good reason. We've done so much with just science and technology and the lack of decency. Imagine if there were even more that we had access to. These are not shuffling. Hello? I'm seeing a lot of wolves. There we go. This King of Cups is just at the bottom of the deck. Okay, final card from the Legends Tarot. Maybe I won't get a final card. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope, no final card. Bottom of the deck is the 10 of Cups. But I'm not going to get a final card because this deck was literally just the construct. So, thanks. Excuse me, Holly, for stopping by. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and what you find. And yeah, this has been an example. But it does, again, it can make something. It gives me. It's that thing that happens. There's probably a word for it. I had to take anti-theft robbery training when I worked the front desk at uni. And when it comes to gathering witness statements, it's like you don't want the witnesses to talk to each other because what'll happen is their stories, whether intentionally or not, will start to like corroborate, if that's the word. Meaning, like, some people may doubt their recollection of events, or there would have been certain things that they just didn't pay attention to. And so when they hear someone else give their telling or their account, then now in their own mind, there's a competition between like what someone else said happened and like what we witnessed and how much detail we did or didn't witness. Right. And then it's possible that all of the pieces that are lost are like all the truth. Right. Like let's say someone wore a yellow jacket and a green hat. And one person's like, yeah, like they had a green hat and a red jacket. And the other person is like, yeah, they had a blue hat and a yellow jacket. And they end up on blue hat, red jacket. They both self eliminate the parts that were the truth that they did observe in favor for a cohesive collective story. Now, instead of getting the piece of the truth that was the green hat and also getting the piece of the truth that is the yellow jacket, we get two things that are untrue, and we're looking for something that isn't there. And that was some word that I looked up or something that I read, right? Oh, I wish I could remember. Blood from a stone, blood from a turnip. That's blood from a turnip, milk from a stone energy, like trying to get something that's not there. Cool. All right. I don't know what this is or was, but it was whatever it was. Um, am I done with this? Sure. I don't know what else there is to say beyond what has been said. Um, maybe it's a time thing. Maybe it's a resonance thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just full of it. Maybe it's Maybelline. It definitely, for sure, is not Maybelline. I can tell you that much. Uh, that maybe it's Madeline. Anyway. All right. I think I'm out of here. I feel like there's almost one deck I want to pull, but I wish I had. I have this. Oh no, the cards are on top of the book. Where's the book? Did I put these back right? These cards are all over the place. Oof. I have this book from the Fable Makers Animated Tarot. This word right here and that word right there. Disaster and deception. Deception and disaster. R.I.P. 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 His deception modifier rivals that of the most duplicitous monsters. While he looks intimidating, his captives aren't actually trapped. The loose chains around their necks are like a rare redeeming loophole in the most fiendish contract, and the calm, balanced approach learned from Temperance reveals this way out of the devil's grasp. Upright keywords: revelation, chaos, disaster, sudden change, painful endings. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, look, the Two of Cups. Abyssus, Abyssum, and Wokan. We see that again. Yeah, all right, I'm going to end this, I guess. Sure. I don't know. This is already almost 3 hours. I'm not going to hit 3 hours. Yeah, I'm just going to go. Okay. I feel like there's something unsaid. The Three of Swords. Um, is there something more about this whole concept energy? I don't know. I wonder. Oh, I do. I do. Yeah, I guess I'll just end this. I can't think of anything more. Well, I guess why would it be disaster though? Yes, the tower is the card after the devil. So if I open up a book, one page is going to be one, the next page is going to be the other. I don't know. I don't know. That disaster. Maybe it can speak to support systems. And maybe that's part of the reason why something doesn't come down immediately. Because it's almost like if a foundation, if a foundation is rotted, truly rotted, and an energy of purification comes through, there will be a disaster because it's almost like I don't know, dams are in my head. So it's like there's a dam, right? And an area is drying up because there are certain rivers that aren't being fed because it's blocked up here. And in order to solve like a food problem, you have to destroy the dam to release those waters. But it's almost like you would want to potentially evacuate everybody before you do that because it's like if you don't have a plan in place, everything is going to flood. So, yes, the waters will then begin to flow to feed other rivers, but like now it went from a food problem to like a housing problem because no one has shelter because all of their houses, their homes, their livelihoods were washed away. I was thinking about that earlier, maybe because of the audiobook I was listening to, maybe because of something else. There is that saying like better the devil you know than the ones you don't. And it's not necessarily that, but it's like there's a certain problem that keeps larger problems or different problems at bay that we may not even necessarily be aware of. And so when you take your time or when we don't rush the demolition of things, there are certain, not contingencies, but other systems that can be put in place. Things that we may not even necessarily be aware of, right? So, like, let's say, for example, low hanging fruit, there's a job that we really want, but we don't know if, like, one of the managers is not ideal. We don't know if there's some kind of restructuring, reorganization. We have no clue. All we know is that is for me, and I don't have it, and I want it right now. If we can trust in the timing of things, and if that timing is um, correct, we will get the job when the manager is great and the restructuring has already happened. We're not going to lose out, right? We are going to find a way to release those waters to feed the rivers, but not so much that an entire area is like flooded and devastated. We're not trading one disaster for another. Sometimes, sure, better the devil you know than those that you don't, but we're not trading one for another. The chancellor, the angel of justice, is here to bring like actual like justice. You know what I mean? Not that relative, well, it's better than it used to be, so you should be grateful for even this. So anyway, all right.